guys, Nick here. Welcome back to Photo Challenger. I hope you're doing fine and thank you so much for watching our recent post, the Zoe Palliolaire Photo Challenge. So if you're new here and haven't watched that post, it's right here. Anyway, this new segment is called Basic Photography Tuesdays. So every Tuesday, I will post videos like this to teach you the basics of photography, portrait photography, and everything that we do here in Photo Challenger. So we are starting off today with my portrait photography beginners 10 tips to improve your photography. But before that, let me just share to you how I started my journey as a photographer. I never imagined that someday I would become a photographer because I lack the visual talent and the equipment to become one. But ever since I fell in love with it, I just keep on doing it over and over again, savoring every moment, taking pictures differently each time that I take and shoot. I am a photographer for 7 years now. I started taking pictures college. At that time, I was taking pictures of flowers, landscapes, street photography, and even wedding photography. I didn't have a camera, so I used to borrow from my friends. And that didn't last long. Eventually, I stopped taking pictures, but by the time that I could afford a camera, I went back to the basics and fast forward to now as a full-fledged photographer. So what I will be sharing to you today is an accumulation of my learning from other photographers, from tutorials, from books that I have read, and my 7 years of experience in doing portrait photography, which is my greatest edge to qualify as your mentor in photography. My most important tip is tip number 10, and it would really make a difference in upping your game in photography. So stick around until the end of the video, and let's start with tip number 1. If you are a beginner and plans to buy a new camera, it's very important to know what you need, especially if you are on a budget, which leads us to tip number 1. Knowing what you need, not what you want. Knowing what you need pinpoints what is needed for you as a portrait photographer. You don't need a high-end camera or a bunch of lenses. Rather, you just need an entry-level camera and one portrait lens. And that's it. Take it from me, I still use my Nikon D5300, an entry-level camera and a portrait lens. But of course, if you can afford it, go for it. But always remember, quantity isn't equal to quality. You will know why on my 8th tip. Know your gear. Knowing your gear more will drastically improve your knowledge in taking good pictures. The less you worry about your camera settings, your gear, the more you get efficient in your photo shoot. Knowing your gear is highly important because it lessens your hassle of you thinking during your photo shoot. Also, this does not only apply to your camera, but all of your equipment. Use them all the time when you practice to get optimal performance. Don't just buy it and let it sit in the corner. The more you use them, the better. Choosing a right lens. There are a variety of lenses that you could choose for portrait photography. There is the 50mm, the 35mm, and the 85mm. These are the top 3 lenses for shooting portrait photography. Acquiring these lenses will help you create that shallow depth of field, separating your subjects from your background. And also, because of its wide aperture, it's very easy for you to focus on your subjects. My recommendation is the 50mm lens, for it gives you the same look as the 85mm lens when you're using a crop sensor body. If you have an extra budget, get the 30mm lens, for it gives you a wider look, helping you show the overall physique of your model. Use the manual mode. Do not use auto because it won't bring you to your goal. This is the most common recommendation of every professional photographer out there. Using the manual mode allows you to take full control of your camera, giving you endless creativity in taking pictures. It's not actually hard to use the manual mode. You only need to master one thing, and that is the exposure triangle, which is composed of the ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. So if you have this three in sync, then you are on your road to taking great pictures. But if you haven't mastered it yet, please do master it, because this is what separates professionals from amateur. So use the manual mode. Shoot in RAW. So RAW means that your file is bigger and it is uncompressed, meaning it's not a JPEG, it's not a PNG, it's RAW. So you might heard of this already. All professional photographers shoot in RAW for two reasons. If they take a picture and they made a mistake, it's very easy for them to tweak it in post. Also, the second thing is when you're color grading, you take full control of your color grade when you are using RAW. So you set your camera in RAW by going to your camera options, shooting options, change it to RAW, and you're ready to go. So we are halfway through and I'm about to tell you my top 2 tips in taking great pictures. So let me just throw in a questions based on tips 1 to 5. Which would you like me to cover first on our next vlog post? Is it using the manual mode or processing pictures that are RAW? Here we go. My second top tip involves hooking your viewers, which is shooting for the eyes. Have you ever talked to someone not looking at you? What did you feel? Was it interesting to talk to them? Or I bet you just walk away. The eyes gives you the overall impression of the photo. That's why I really appreciate it when a new photographer shoots for the eye. I also make it a point that my models have that eye to impress so that it can capture the viewer's attention. And I make sure that the most sharp point in my photos are the eyes, so that the viewers are hooked immediately when they see my pictures. Tip number 7. Use the hands. Aside from very appealing and strong eye impression, the hands give that extra touch of expression on your photos. Just like when we're talking, we're using the hands to emphasize something or to point at something. The same psychology applies to photography. Plus, it is highly used in fashion photography. Hands can lead the viewer's eyes. So you can point at something very important in the photo or something that is interesting on the model's face or in the model's hands. The hands give the extra touch of impression in your photo. So use the hands. Keep it simple. This is in relation to tips number 1 and 2. Knowing what you need and knowing your gear. I did said that to use all of your gear in tip number 2, but you should separate your time for practice to an actual client photo shoot. Remember, you are not there to practice, you are paid to take good pictures. And please avoid taking a lot of equipment, especially when you don't need them, because it will just complicate things. By doing this, you can create a big room to concentrate and produce great pictures. You never know when an idea pops up. Sometimes it just pops up in the actual photo shoot. So if you're busy tweaking all of your equipment because you have many equipment that's with you, then that idea will be lost forever. So keep it simple. We are down to tip number 9. So I put this one in tip number 9 because the 8 tips that I've given you was basic foundations. If you have mastered that, then you can proceed to tip number 9, which is paying attention to your models. You have to connect and communicate with your model. In shooting portraits, models also play a key role to the perfect shots. So it's recommended that you seek a professional model or a natural. Now, my models are not professional. I know them for the longest time. They are naturals. We already established our trust. I know what they want. They know what I want. It's a give and take relationship in a way we connect during our photo shoots. By the way, number one rule with working with models is to never touch your models. Rather, direct them with your hands. It's recommended that you start with a couple of test shots so that you will build trust and also bring out the confidence in them. Finally, we are down to my last tip, the most important tip of them all. My final tip is keep doing it or practice. This is the turning point of you making that great leap in taking great pictures. So as photographers, you are like athletes. You're preparing for the Olympics to get that gold. And what do? They practice, practice, and practice day in and day out so that they could get that gold. The same goes with you as a photographer. In order to be great, you need to practice and practice. Your goal should not only to take great pictures, but also take note of your mistake during practice so that you can drastically improve your photography. So do it differently each time a picture. Don't settle with one angle only. Take a bunch of angles, practice even more, shoot it, do it, and do it like you're meant to do it. I hope you will apply all these tips. Which one do you like the most? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or number 10? Comment below so that I will know, and don't forget to like this video. Please do subscribe, hit that bell icon so that you get notified whenever we put up another video like this. This is Nick. See you again next Tuesday. Ciao.